Welcome to our 6th video of the Monarch Butterfly series. This is Monarch 4A. It's the adult story. This is about the adult butterfly's distribution, a little bit on its migration and natural history, and some particulars about its personal life and the influence of the human population. Monarch butterfly is probably the most well-known and beloved insect on the planet. The monarch butterfly in most of the world is called the wanderer for a very good reason. If you look at this distribution map, it is all over the world. Doesn't do much in Africa, doesn't do much in Europe. There's a little area around the Gibraltar region where the monarch butterfly exists, and some of the islands in the Atlantic. Over here in the Australian region, the monarch butterfly is in Australia and the islands north of Australia as well. The real story, however, is in North America, which includes a great migration story. He also hangs out in northern South America with no migration involved. We don't understand why there are so few monarchs in Europe and Africa. All throughout Africa, for example, are lots of cousins of Danaus plexippus, the monarch butterfly. The monarch itself is only in the Gibraltar region and some of the little islands off of the coast of Africa. The name and the original studies of the monarch occurred in England, and the monarch isn't even there. In the Asian and Australian region, interesting things have happened. In about 1840, Hawaii doesn't show on the map, they showed up there. 1840 here in New Zealand, and between 1840 and 1880, all of these little islands were inhabited for unknown ways by the wanderer. 1870, they were in Australia. So if you include the Indonesian islands and the Malaysians, you've got lots of monarch butterflies in this part of the world. The wanderer in the Western Hemisphere is where the monarch butterfly became famous. Its distribution includes Canada and clear down to northern South America. So you've got a large area filled with monarch butterflies. There's a migration story between Canada and the US and Mexico. In the summer, monarch butterflies are all over the United States. They are locating milkweed. The caterpillars are munching out on milkweed, and several generations are occurring in the two populations of monarch butterflies. We have a western population west of the Continental Divide and an eastern population, which is a larger group of butterflies, and they are all over the United States and southern Canada, east of the Rocky Mountains. And then in the fall of the year, their attitude changes and their metabolism changes. They're no longer interested in reproduction. Their fat cells begin to increase, and they're ready for a migration. When the days get shorter, the nights get longer, they feel a message to migrate to their overwintering sites. The western population will migrate western or southwestern to the Pacific coast. The eastern population begins to funnel its way towards Texas and head south into the mountains of central Mexico, where they will assemble for the winter. Okay. In the wintertime, the migrators have found their overwintering sites. The western population has aligned themselves along the California coast, where they hang out mostly in eucalyptus trees, probably no further inland than maybe a mile. The eastern population has found mountaintops in central Mexico. After the monarch butterflies leave their overwintering sites, they repopulate the west from the Pacific Ocean sites and the east from central Mexico. And in the forests and prairies of the east, they're all over the place waiting for fall. In the fall of the year, the days get shorter, the nights get longer, and they begin to have a different metabolism and a different motivation. The migration again is about to start. From the chrysalis, the adult butterfly emerges. In nature, it's quite a phenomenon. You can see the struggling adult breaking open the chitin capsule. You can see some pulsation up here with the abdomen. It's working hard to exit from the chrysalis. Antennae and a proboscis beginning to test the world. An empty chrysalis, crumpled wings. Notice how it's pretty well attached with brand new hooks on the end of its 4 walking legs. Emerging butterfly's proboscis comes out in 2 parts. You'll notice 2 parts rather than 1 proboscis. Those 2 halves must fuse to make a tube to suck up nectar in the adult butterfly. You can see a leg in the picture. You can see it's hooked up pretty well with its brand new hooks. You can see the antennae are waiting for their next step, and the wings will uncrumple and dry. Notice the huge compound eye. You can see this butterfly will hang there for a while. The wings will harden, they will dry, and the butterfly will fly. Butterfly begins to explore. Works that proboscis, looking for moisture. Works those wings. Ready to take a trip. One of the first things the butterfly will do is locate a place to drink. So it's getting moisture from the mud, and from the flowers, nectar later. After the monarch stretches its wings, it locates a mate. The male will pounce on the female. First, she's reluctant. He has perfume. And once he uses that perfume, she becomes more cooperative. He has claspers. He hooks up, and he flies off into a shrub or a tree, and she comes along for the ride. They may do this for 10 hours or so. This is the monarch mating dance. After mating, she lays eggs only on milkweed. She is aware that 1 or 2 eggs on a milkweed plant is sufficient. More than that, the milkweed plant is devoured and the caterpillars don't make it. She will flit from milkweed plant to milkweed plant and lay many eggs in her lifetime. The migrating monarch gets beat up. It's a tough flight from, say, southern Canada to central Mexico in a couple of months. You can see what's happened to this butterfly, but it flies on. Not only does it fly on with tattered wings and scales gone, but it can still mate. And here's his brand new girlfriend, looking quite healthy. And here he is, still mating, as his wings are half as strong as they were before. You can see little claspers here and the 2 spots to produce pheromones on that old male monarch. So we need to respect the migrating monarch and understand why it's called the wanderer. The monarch butterfly, tough insect, a master of his domain.